bravery is not the absence of fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it.
Hi, I'm Ebony from Epic Reads.
And I'm Kara from Bellatrist, and we're here again with Akwaeke Emezi, author of Pet, which is a National Book Award finalist novel.
One of the things I love that you do in Pet is just the language. It's fascinating. So for those of you who don't know, Jam is selectively mute and uses sign language. She comes from a family where her father speaks the language, her mother speaks the language. Like, there's just so many different uses of language. And the diaspora is just really scattered all throughout, which I love. What role do you think these types of languages sort of play in communicating in general plays into the story, or into the larger story, I would say?
You know, with Lucille, I really wanted to write a Black community. And it was modeled after this thing Toni Morrison did in her novels where, like, the town is just a bubble unto itself and you don't worry about any of the world outside it and it's just within here. And for me, so much of, like, Black community is that mix. You know, it is, you know, people from all over the diaspora. It is, like, us talking each other's, like, dialects and using different forms of patois and pidgin and vernacular Englishes. And I really wanted that to reflect, because I think that it's one of the richer points of being in the community that is full of people from so many backgrounds, is just constantly shifting there, and that fluidity between language, and you really get to see, like, the beauty of, like, people's backgrounds and people's heritages and where they come from and how, you know, they connect or how they sound similar even if they're from different places. To me, that was a really important part of, you know, this community that Jam gets to grow up in.
So can you talk a little bit about your choice to make Jam selectively mute? Absolutely. And what that means exactly for people who haven't read the book?
Honestly, I found out about the term after I wrote the book, and someone described it like that in a review, and I was like, oh, that's what that's called. But it was, again, this thing of who are we centering in our stories? And I wanted to center, like, all the people who matter to me, who are in, like, positions that are usually, you know, shunted to the side. And one of them is I wanted, you know, Jam to be neurodivergent. I wanted that to show in different ways, in how she talked or how she didn't talk, in when she has panic attacks, in when she dissociates. Like, she has all these experiences that I wanted to center. And I think it also shows in a lot of, like, the other characters or in a lot of the other dynamics where, like, you know, Redemption has 3 parents. One of them uses they, them pronouns. And I wanted to do it because I was like, this is normal. You know, like, this is just normal life for so many people. What we call normal depends on, like, what center you're in. And I wanted to, like, create a center where, you know, this girl, sometimes she voices and sometimes she doesn't, and sometimes she floats away and has to be brought back to this reality, and sometimes, you know, she has panic attacks and Pet calms her down and know that, like, this is okay. You know, like, it's okay if you're like this. It's okay if you process like this. It's okay if you communicate like this. This is a valid center and there's nothing wrong with you.
You've said that Pet, the book, sort of came out of this fixation that you had, or interest that you had in exploring that people don't say what they mean. Can you elaborate a little bit about how this novel came out of that fixation or that observation?
You know, when I was a kid, I was extremely gullible. Like, you could tell me anything and I would believe it, because I generally didn't understand, well, if this person loves me, obviously, you know, they won't lie to me. And so it was hard for me to understand a world where people didn't look directly at things, or where people didn't say what they meant. And I hated pranks for the same reason. Still do. Because I'm just like, this just seems wrong. But I wanted to address it with Pet because I could see how, you know, you take that and you move it to, like, a national scale, and you just see the lies that are being told. And I wondered, what is it like to be, like, a young person who's still much closer to, like, this idea of looking straight at something and saying exactly what you mean, and hasn't bothered to learn about wearing all these different masks the way that, like, older folk do. And you see that on a national scale, and you see how much damage is done and how many like violent things are happening, and people just won't look at them. And there are people suffering because of that. And you're told, like, if you look at them, there's a part in the book where Pet is talking to Jam, and it tells her that now that she can see things that other people don't see, that she might become unseen as well. And that's a thing that happens where, like, you look at things you're not supposed to look at. You talk about things you're not supposed to talk about. And the rest of, like, society that doesn't want to look at those things and doesn't want to talk about those things will just erase you. Like, you will just be removed. No one wants to listen to you, and you just disappear with all the things that people don't want. And when you don't want to look at certain realities, when you don't want to look at certain people, you remove them. You drone them. You don't let them into the country. You put them in camps. Like, there are all these violent things that happen because you don't want to look at a reality that is different from yours.
So I know this is like a generic question, a generic book question, but I think it's really important here. There's so many different things readers can take away, but for you personally as a writer, like, what is that one thing that you want readers to take away from this book?
I think, you know, on the cover of the book, it says, "Are you brave enough to look?" And when we first put it there, the publishers were like, "This is a little vague. What do you mean?" And I was like, it can mean whatever. Are you brave enough to look at pets? Are you brave enough to look for a monster? Are you brave enough to look at the possibility of the world not being, you know, as you thought it was? And so that, I think, really is like the takeaway of things. It's like, you don't have to be not scared. Jam is terrified for most of the book. And it's okay to be scared, because, like, bravery is not the absence of fear. Like, courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it, you know? And so I think for me, that's like the takeaway. It's like, it's okay to look at things, like, not to run away from it, not to pretend like it doesn't exist, whatever that looks like in whatever context, you know, just look at the thing. And I think if more of us are able to do that, it's going to, like, empower us in a serious way.
You know, like, being brave enough, even when society is telling you should be this way, you shouldn't have panic attacks, you shouldn't be this, and yet she's still able to sort of face her fears in a way that I think we all want to do. So thank you so much for writing this beautiful book.
Where can readers find you online? Are you on the internet?
I'm on the interwebs, yes.
You found out about your long list on Twitter, so.
Yes, I found out a lot of things on Twitter. Some things I don't want to, but I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Tumblr. I have a handle. It's AZMAZ, so it's like my initials, and then my last name.
And if you haven't read A Pet, make sure you pick up a copy today. You can find it wherever books are sold. Also, make sure to like and comment on the videos, and to follow us on @EpicReads.
And @Bellatrist.
And I'm Ebony.
And I'm Kara. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you for
having me. This was really amazing, this conversation. Thank you.
And see you next time on Why Not YA.
Bye, guys.